Shlach L'kha, send on your behalf. Bamidbar, Numbers 13:1 to 15:41. Haftarah, Joshua 2:1 to 24. Brit Hadashah, Yaakov, James 2:18. Ve'edaber Adonai al Moshe lemor. Shlach L'kha anashim ve'yituru et eretz Canaan asher ani noten livnei Yisrael. Ish echad remata hivatav tishlehu kol nasi vahem. Introduction. Adonai said to Moshe, "Send men on your behalf to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each ancestral tribe, send someone who is a leader in his tribe." This was the first time the children of Israel arrived in the land of Canaan, and they did not know they would spend 40 years in the wilderness. Moshe did not know that they would not enter Canaan at this time. These things happened after the men who were sent to reconnoiter the land returned. I think Adonai knew what would likely happen and sent them in to begin a long process of preparation for the eventual return to Canaan. We read this from verse 25. 40 days after they returned from reconnoitering the land and went to Moshe, Aharon, and the entire community of the people of Israel at Kadesh in the Paran desert, where they brought back word to them and to the entire community and showed them the fruit of the land. What they told him was this: "We entered the land where you sent us, and indeed it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. However, the people living in the land are fierce, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the Anakim there. Amalek lives in the area of the Negev, the Hittite, the Yevusi, and the Amori live in the hills, and the Canaani live by the sea and alongside the Yarden." Caleb spoke up in favor of going into the land, but the people cried and shouted that they wanted to go back to Egypt. Further along we read, Moshe and Aharon fell on their faces before the entire assembled community of the people of Israel. Yehoshua, which was renamed from Hoshea, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, from the detachment that had reconnoitered the land, tore their clothes and said to the whole community of Israel, "The land we passed through in order to spy it out is an outstandingly good land. If Adonai is pleased with us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us." It says, "We saw the Anakim there." Anakim are giants. They are descendants of the Nephilim, and the Nephilim were descendants of the heroes of old, going back to the time of Noah. These were very large people. Textual understanding. Names. The etymology of the name Moshe, according to Abarim Publications, is from the Egyptian noun mes, child, or from 1, mo, water, and 2, uses, saved from drowning. It is interesting to note that Hebrew for water is maim. It is more interesting to note that under uses, the word saved is indicated. Hebrew for save is shua. Moshe helped save the people of Israel from slavery. There is a poetic quality to Holy Scripture using names and specific words to emphasize the theme. Shua is also part of the name Hosea. In chapter 13, verse 16, it says, Hosea was changed to Yehoshua. Yehoshua is a combination of the first letter of the name of Adonai, which is Yod, and Shua for save. Yeshua, Jesus, has the same name. No small significance. Kelov, the one who spoke up for going into the land, has a name from the Hebrew for dog, but the last part of his name, Lev, means heart in Hebrew, and Caleb can also mean dedicated or loyal. It seems to me that he also had a brave heart. Caleb was one of those who survived until the second time when Israel entered the Promised Land 40 years later. Also, Yehoshua would lead the people of Israel into Canaan and command the Battle of Jericho. The others who did not recommend going into Canaan are not mentioned again. They would have been too old to fight and may not have survived the wilderness. The theme of Bamidbar is apparently salvation. Israel was saved from Egypt and brought to the Promised Land, where they were saved with Yehoshua leading them. Yeshua made his sacrifice at the starting of Pesach, Passover, commemorating the salvation of the Israelite slaves, and now saving all people who would accept him. Grace, but acknowledged through action. If I raise my eyes to the hills or mountains, from where will my help come from? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. These words are reminiscent of both being in the wilderness and Messiah Yeshua's sacrifice. Recently, Shaul, a famous Israeli musician and part of the band Mikedem, a Messianic band, commented in a group email to fans that she thought of this while in a bomb shelter during missile attacks from Iran. Moshe had faith, received grace from Adonai, and although reluctantly acted on it. Caleb and Yeshua acted on their faith to enter the Promised Land. Yehoshua led the armies of Israel into the Promised Land as well. Yeshua acted on perfect faith and sacrificed his life, inspiring millions of people for thousands of years. Today we should do works, acting to show our faith as instructed by Yaakov, James, who says in James chapter 2, verse 18, "But someone will say that you have faith and I have actions. Show me this faith of yours without the actions, and I will show you my faith by my actions." Conclusions. So much resulted from those who were sent into the Promised Land to reconnoiter and assess the people living there. There was much to want there, and there was also much to be concerned with. But the real story was the unwillingness of the people to trust that they would not have been brought there if it was not divinely ordained. It is possible that the time spent in the wilderness preparing them for the return to the Promised Land was also either divinely ordained or expected at the least. In any case, it was a precursor to the divinely ordained and prophesied coming of the Messiah, whose entire life reflected the Moses story. It is worth noting that the story of the Israelites and Moses is thematic, a poetic epic that has survived in the modern times and is an important part of Jewish tradition. Today it is pertinent and inspirational, applied to current needs and concerns. This story of faith through actions is also reflected in the Haftarah portion in the second chapter of Joshua, which tells the story of the reconnoitering of Jericho. Yehoshua's faith was once again seen by his actions. Keep this in mind this week as you choose what to do. Have a good week, and Shabbat Shalom to all.